Hi, everyone. This is a feedback on our 2021 International Space Station mission. And I have the kit here. I'm not sure if you can see it in the picture, in the camera, but our kit returned, and I've got some close-up shots a little bit later. And I'm also going to explain this wire to you. Very unusual for any X-in-a-box components to have any wires, but sometimes we need to have some wires. So what I'm going to go through now in this quick presentation is what was our original plan, what are the results that we achieved, a comparison with the mission in 2020, and also where to from here. How do we carry on from here? So we had an original plan, and that was to launch on the SpaceX CRS-22 mission to the International Space Station, scheduled for launch on June the 3rd, 2021. We had planned, and we also certainly did have 2 virtual workshops to discuss parallel data collection in our surroundings at home, because we did all around the world. We received some kits that we could connect, and using the Wi-Fi core, the CW01, we could observe our own data in our own surroundings. The plan was to collect data for up to 2 months on the ISS, return it to Quest for Impact for data retrieval, and then upload that data to the data dashboard. And in this photo, you'll see this is the kit that was installed in last year in 2020. And so this just gives an idea of the surroundings that it's in. It's in a box with a number of other experiments. And you can see here's a big fan for temperature control, etc. So how did we actually do? We certainly did. It launched with SpaceX on schedule. We had our virtual workshops, and the mission lasted for 7 weeks. The kit was on the space station for 7 weeks, and then it came back with SpaceX as well. And it was returned to Quest for Impact for data retrieval. Unfortunately, the SD card was found to be corrupted. And the Quest for Impact team were absolutely devastated. Our card wasn't the only one to be corrupted. In fact, all of the SD cards that had flown on the mission were corrupted. So nobody got any data out of that. And so the kit was returned to us. So that what we could do is we could do some testing to find out what exactly had happened. And we realized that the SD card must have been damaged during the mission. And we did that in a fairly simple way. What we did is we removed the SD card from the CS11 holder at the back of the kit. We inserted a new SD card, as we had with that previous one, and the kit worked straight away. Connected it to power, it worked straight away, collecting data on the SD card. So the kit itself was fine. All the connectors were fine. All of the chips were fine. Everything was absolutely fine. So we realized that it must have been exposed to some radiation to corrupt the card. So here you can see on the right hand side, sorry, this time we had a kit that was actually in 2 layers. And the reason is that the particle matter sensor is a large sensor. It's also pretty thick or high. So what we needed to do is we needed to accommodate the rest of the payload around it in a 2nd layer. So Bianca and his team developed a stacking connector, which is really great, because we'd always wanted a stacking connector, but it had been on that list of, oh, we'll get there one day, we'll get there one day. And eventually it became priority, and there was an immovable deadline, so they developed it. Thank goodness. So now that's done. And also the thing is, this particle matter sensor takes up 4 spaces, the space of 4 X chips. So what we needed to do is we needed to, in order to accommodate the correct number of chips required in the payload, we needed that 2nd layer. So let's just have a look at this. And this is what our findings have been, is that on the 3rd of July, so that is exactly a month to the day after its launch on the 3rd of June, there was a significant solar flare. And what I've done is I've included in the presentation links to a number of articles that have been written about the solar flare. We can see it over there. It's just there on the horizon of our sun. And it said, this was the tweet, which was the first announcement of the solar flare. Today's X-class flare is the first X-class flare of solar cycle 25, and the first X-class solar flare since 2017. So that is actually really interesting, because we do know that our sun's been going through a very quiet period. And as luck would have it, when the sun wakes up, we happen to be there for that wake-up call that we've had. So yeah, unfortunately, it's just one of those things. So what did we do? What we did is when we reconnected it to power, what we did is we'd always made sure that this power connector is omnidirectional. So it doesn't matter if you put it in with the positive or the negative on the left or the right or the other way around. We made absolutely sure of that, because that's a simple thing that can go wrong. There's always 50% chance that it's going to be inserted the wrong way. So we made sure that was omnidirectional. So we knew that the circuit hadn't been fried in that way. But what we have is we have the data from 2020, which is available on the Kibana dashboard. So what I've done is I've taken a screenshot here, and we can see over the 4 weeks of that mission last year, we can see how our carbon dioxide was cycling and then eventually actually just settled down. This is our temperature. And then what we've also had a look at is acceleration. So this is micro Gs, and having a look at vibration and acceleration and that kind of thing. And there's some nice conclusions that we can draw from that. So what we'd like to do is perhaps let's actually have some sessions where we go through this data that we collected last year in exactly the same style box with exactly the same companion payloads. So we can definitely get some data from that. Then what we can do, of course, is that our terrestrial kits we can keep using, and we can see here that I've kept my kit running, and it's really interesting because we can see here with the particle matter sensor that sometimes there's a lot of particles in my office, and then I've been relating that to carbon dioxide, volatile organic compounds, and we can see certain periods there's a lot, and that could be because of maybe wildfires, that kind of thing. And then you can see here as well, this is my weather sensor, my temperature and relative humidity. All of a sudden there was a gap. And I found that someone in the family had borrowed my weather sensor to put on another kit for another experiment. And I was really confused, because the thing is that what I'd done is, once I put the kit together, what I did is that I put it in a particular area of my office so where it wouldn't be disturbed. So I didn't actually have it in sight the whole time. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, what's happened here? Has my weather sensor, has it broken? Is one of the connectors gone or whatever? And when I went to look at it, I actually found that it wasn't there anymore. It had been successfully rewired. And then, of course, we have the data table here. So some really interesting results. One of the students who is participating from also in Southern Africa, as I am myself, but a good 1,000 miles away, he started noticing that his volatile organic compounds were becoming really extreme. And it turned out that what it was is that one of the neighbors was doing some painting of their home. And, just the fumes from the paint, was actually getting into his bedroom. And, the thing is, too often we we can't detect these things ourselves. You know, maybe we're getting headaches or something. Maybe we've got a sore throat, or we've got itchy eyes, something like that. And it could be something that a sensor could pick up that we can't, that our own sensors are not built to pick up. So yeah, where to from here? What we need to do now is we need to start planning for 2022. We do know that every single year, Quest for Impact is very, very eager to host us on the International Space Station. And so maybe what we can do is let's have a look at how we can mitigate these risks of maybe losing the SD card again. The interesting thing with engineering projects is that it may seem that each time we conduct a project that it's identical to the previous one, but nothing is ever identical, because all we need is one factor to have changed slightly, and it can actually send a project in a different direction. So yes, what we do is we plan as much as we can, but then we've always got to be aware that we're going to have surprises. Sometimes they're positive surprises, great surprises. Sometimes they're not. But yeah, that's the way it is. And so, yeah, so we have the kit. So we have the kit here. And what we'll do is next year, when we come and visit you in WISE, we are going to bring this kit so that everybody can put their hands on it and have a good look at it. We can power it up. We can collect some data with it. And yeah, it can go on its own little tour of the planet, as opposed to orbiting the planet. It can go for its own little tour of the planet. So yeah, so that's the feedback from that mission from 2021.
Well, and that's real, that's science, because it doesn't always, everything, it's not the cookie cutter that you know what your results are going to be ahead of time, or that everything's even going to work perfectly either.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. And also one of the huge challenges was that everybody's experiments were in this isolated container, and nobody had access to see if everything was working or not. And so, you know, the thing is that what we're looking at with Quest for Impact is how can we just have some sight of what is going on inside, so that we can make sure that everything's working correctly. Because I'm sure that if it was detected that the SD cards have been corrupted, I'm sure that somebody on the International Space Station would have been very happy to replace SD cards or do something. You know, maybe we send some spares, something like that. You know, so if we can monitor what's going on inside the box, then it means that we can react then when something does go wrong. You know, our challenge was we could only look at it when it was too late.
Afterwards, right.
Yeah, when it was too late. So yeah, what we're doing is we're working on some code. Bjarke and his team are working on some Arduino code for Quest for Impact, so that what we can do is that we can actually link to the communication system on the International Space Station. So we can at least get a diagnostic. We don't have to get all of the data, but we just need to get a pulse, and we need to know that everything's still running. So we can run a diagnostic every now and then, so that we can mitigate.
But I mean, and I don't know enough of the electronics to know that, but I guess obviously the sensors were working, right? I mean, they were working. It's just that they were not recording, or the SD card where it had been corrupted through ever. But so, you know, how do you know then if you're monitoring? Can you monitor the SD card?
Yeah, I mean, there must be a way of doing that. There must be a way of doing that. So, you know, to run some kind of a health check. So yeah, I think it's quite interesting, and that's also actually quite a nice challenge, is because maybe what we build into the projects nowadays and going forward is, let's have a look, what could the possible risks be, and how large is that risk? Is it something that we can maybe afford to not worry about, because maybe
Right.
it's very low risk with very low impact, you know, so
Mhm.
to actually start doing the risk assessment as we would on an engineering project, development project, you know, to have a look at that.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm obviously going to show this to the kids and then we'll discuss. And I'll talk with them also about the rocketry
Yes.
projects, because I think that there will be interest on something like that, which obviously with us getting ready to hit holidays and everything like that, I mean, I would suspect we're going to be talking about the first of the year before